Now I know we're all getting a little bit excited about the expected release of new tech like the DJI Mavic 3 Pro, the Mini 3, the Action 2 and the GoPro Hero 10. However, it's very possible that none of these may happen at all this year. If you want to find out why, including a juicy conspiracy theory, don't go away. Okay, now I'm really going to throw the cat among the pigeons here, and I'm sure this will create lots of outcries and debate in the comment section below. So be it, so go for it. Now, I for one have been talking about the pending release of the Mini 3 drone, the Mavic 3 drone, the Action 2 camera and a bunch of product lines due for a refresh or an upgrade. But as excited as I am about the prospect of these products hitting the shelves, I'm now equally doubtful that we'll see any of them at all in 2021 because the manufacturing world is facing one of the greatest challenges in years, a global shortage of semiconductors, and there doesn't appear to be an end in sight anytime soon. So semiconductors are an essential component of electronic devices found in everything from cars to dishwashers, mobile phones, cameras, TVs and drones. They harness the conducting properties of semiconductor materials such as silicon to control the electrical current flowing into a device. Now, according to a number of large electronics manufacturers like Acer, who make laptops, companies will still be affected by this shortage until at least the first half of 2022, and it's entirely possible it may carry on further than that. Like many current global challenges, this shortage initially began as a result of the COVID pandemic. Staff at semiconductor foundries in China and around the world were unable to go to work, plants were closed and production halted, which led to a lack of supply. The movement of that supply was also slowed down by tighter restrictions at ports and international borders. Now at the same time, employees started working from home, children and students started studying from home, and many of us were confined to our home for long periods. People needed equipment to support this and set up makeshift offices and classrooms in their homes, and many also chose to upgrade their existing home entertainment gear. Now this prompted a sudden increase in demand for many of the devices that rely on semiconductors, but the companies that manufacture these products weren't making as many as they normally do, or ordering enough components to enable them to meet a rise in demand later. Now the scary thing is that this didn't just happen in the electronics sector. It's affected every industry that uses semiconductors in their products, from healthcare and cosmetics to construction and defense. Now according to analysis by investment bank Goldman Sachs, this shortage has already impacted at least 169 different industries to some extent. Once rumours of a shortage began to emerge, companies that use semiconductors started panic buying and stockpiling them, which added to the overall impact of the shortage and reduced what little supply is available, plus it also drives up costs. So where does that leave nerds like us wanting our new drone? Well, it's hard to say. It really depends on what contingency the likes of DJI have built into their supply chain. It might also explain why we've recently seen the leaked release of the DJI Mini SE drone, something that has taken everyone by complete surprise. Now the Mini SE is now likely to be their entry-level drone going forward. The limited specs available at the time of recording this video suggest that it's almost identical to the original DJI Mavic Mini. So what's the big deal about that, you might ask, and how is it connected? Well, here's the conspiracy theory part. Cast your minds back to November 2020 when the DJI Mini 2 was released, only a year after the release of its predecessor, the Mavic Mini, and a full year earlier than when most people expected a refresh. Now part of this was driven by the advances the competition were making, forcing DJI to release the Mini 2 much earlier than they really wanted to. They had very little time to run through the stock of the Mavic Mini, hence why it's still an active product and available in stores and online. This also means that they had, or have, a lot of stock of the chip that powers the Mavic Mini. And given the supply issues with chips for their newer drones in development like the Mini 3 or the Mavic 3, what better opportunity to dust them off, come up with a new version of the Mavic Mini and push a whole lot more product out into the market. So that's all well and good for people wanting to get into the drone market for the first time, but what does it mean for the likes of us who want the new stuff? Well, it's really not good news, I'm afraid. Even before the crisis, the demand for semiconductors was growing steadily as products became more sophisticated and technologies such as 5G became ever more integrated into our daily life. The only realistic solution is to increase the supply of semiconductors. Chip maker Intel has already announced plans to scale up its manufacturing capacity, with new factories opening up in the United States and Europe. However, these are massive plants that take a lot of time and money to set up, so we'll still likely be feeling the impact of the shortage well into the next year. And if you're thinking, okay, well, I won't be getting my new drone anytime soon. I'll live with that, no big deal. Bear in mind that what I said earlier, that the shortage affects the manufacture of many product categories, even cars. So for example, a car is made up of about 30,000 components, sourced from thousands of suppliers all around the world. Now, if even one of these components isn't available at the time of assembly, the system grinds to a halt and new cars can't be finished or shipped. General Motors had to stop production at some of its manufacturing facilities as a result of the chip shortage earlier this year, costing the company at least $2 billion US. Now, I hate to be all doom and gloom about this, but if it does have the sort of impact I'm talking about, it may not actually be the worst thing in the world when it comes to gadget nuts like me. For example, if this does delay the release of the Mini 3 drone, I'd actually be quite happy because it means I get a little bit more use out of my Mini 2, which I bought only 5 months ago. Now, heaps of people have also commented on my channel that they recently purchased a Mini 2 as well, so I think a delay would suit them just as much as it would me. However, it won't stop us thinking about and anticipating the Mini 3, and here are 2 videos where we discuss what features could be in the new drone when it arrives. My hit list here, and then one based purely on all the ideas that you've come up with and told me about there. So you might not be able to have a Mini 3 just yet, but we can still plan, right? Check out those links on screen now, and I'll see you over there. Cheers, guys.